Hey Page Chasers! As you can see, for the November book haul, we are doing something a little different. We have our little sweaters on in honor of the King of Kindness, Mr. Rogers. Just in time for the movie It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring none other than Tom Hanks. And now we have a few books to talk to you about today. First up is Smokescreen by Terri Blackstock. This is a thrilling novel about a wildfire firefighter who leaves his hometown and is called back under very precarious circumstances. His father is being released from prison. Now, his father was in prison because, get this, he was charged with murdering his ex-girlfriend's father.
Ooh. So
his dad got charged with killing his ex-girlfriend's dad, who happened to be the town pastor. And so the father is released because they didn't have enough evidence, and he's called back to see him. And he's got to face this ex-girlfriend who is dealing with the fact that her father's supposed killer was just released from prison and her ex-boyfriend's back in town.
Great
So
drama.
So a lot of intrigue follows that, yeah. And Nate Beckett is the lead character, and Brenna is the former love interest and possibly future love interest. So definitely pick this one up.
Alright, so the next one that we're going to talk about is Emily Lay's newest book, When Less Becomes More. This is a beautiful book. Obviously, you've got this really beautiful hardcover. This title here is actually sort of pulled out with some texture, so it's a really pretty book, really fun to get your hands on. This is really all about just making space for slow, simple, and good. That's the subtitle of this book. And Emily Lay is all about simplicity and really just escaping this hustle culture that we talked about last month with To Hell with the Hustle. But this is a really beautiful book that makes a wonderful gift. Whether you're a single woman or a mom, there's a lot of really great tips in here on just how to slow down and be more intentional in your life. And Emily actually dedicates this book to her daughter Caroline, and there's really sweet pictures of her throughout the book, and there's a letter at the beginning and the end, which just tugs at my heartstrings because it's so sweet. It's really like that girlfriend or that mom or mentor in your life reaching out to you and saying, hey, I see what you're doing, and I just want you to know that you're enough, and it's okay to take time for yourself and take time for rest and just take time for wellness. And this is a really great book to just pick up and read a little bit at a time. Just take some time to, it's really designed to help you do the things that Emily is encouraging you in a way that you would pick this book up, just take some time for yourself and just take some time in silence and relax and just enjoy and remember to take care of yourself. And so we're really excited about this book. This comes out November 12th. And it's got a beautiful ribbon for page marking as well. So it's a really great book, something you'll really enjoy and makes a wonderful gift for friends as well.
Awesome, that's beautiful. Lots of slowing down books.
Yes.
Last month,
yes.
this month.
I think this is the time of year when we really just need to relax and go into it knowing it's going to be okay.
Just chill out, everybody.
Yes.
So authors can write about something else. Next up, the Sacred Enneagram Workbook. I don't know about you guys, but I have gotten huge into the Enneagrams lately. I'm a 4-wing 5, which one website dubbed the Bohemian. Trying to figure out what that means. I don't feel very bohemian in my Fred Rogers gear. But this book is fantastic. It really kind of takes the Enneagram, like the test you take online, and it walks you through, and you can find your type as well, but it also kind of helps you apply it to everyday life, if you figure out why you're doing things, the reason, like your personality reason behind that, it can kind of help you overcome some of your challenges, whether that's personal, professional, or spiritual. It kind of helps you just equips you with some tools to step back and analyze and really figure out why you're not finishing that work assignment, Eric. Just go to your Enneagram.
All right, so next we have Coral. You guys, this is so pretty, and it's really hard to tell when you're just looking at it online, but this hardback that's coming out this month is really beautiful coral color, which I'm so into bright pink with dark colors. But essentially this is sort of a modern fantasy retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's classic The Little Mermaid tale. This is written by Sara, And you basically got these 3 central characters that you follow throughout the book. So we have Coral, who's the name of this mermaid, and she's basically ostracized within her family because she has the disease, which they call it as mer people, which basically means she has emotions. And so it's very interesting to read about this girl who is ostracized just for being, to us, being human, but as a mermaid, this is something that's totally wrong, and people will not touch you and they will not look at you, and it's just the worst. And so you have Coral, and then you also have a human named Brooke who is dealing with just a lot of trauma. The story starts with her waking up basically in a trauma facility, and you don't know her story right off the bat, but she's just been dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety, and so it's really, you get to see her story of healing throughout that process. And then you also have a 3rd character named Merrick, which is a fun guy's name. Reminds me a lot of my best friend's name, Merritt. But Merrick is this guy who, his struggle he's dealing with is his overly controlling father, who wants one thing for his life, but he wants to follow his heart and do what he wants to do. And so you have these 3 totally different characters, and they end up coming together and their stories mesh, and you really get to see this very cool arc of all of their processes in growing up and in healing. And one thing that was really cool about this book that I wanted to share, Sara actually has this little note to her readers in the front that's essentially a trigger warning is what she calls it, because she dives a lot into mental health and just the way that looks and what it means to be human and to feel these things, and just encouraging people that there's hope in that. And I wanted to read this one little sentence at the end of this letter that she has, and she says, "I hope that Coral's tale may be a small pinprick of light in your darkness, a reminder that you are seen. You are loved, you are not alone, you are not nothing, my friend, and neither am I." And I just really love that. This book will break your heart in all the right ways, but it's definitely worth reading. It's really good just to get the perspective, and she writes just very beautifully. You can really get immersed into this world and immersed into the characters and just the things that they're feeling and that they're going through, and just being able to be a part of their journeys makes this absolutely worth the read. So I highly recommend you pick this up. This is Coral, Sara. It's coming out November 12th.
Next for me, we have Raising Boys Who Respect Girls by the esteemed author Dave Willis. This is important, and I think even if you are a future father, will ever become a father, or are just a man like myself, then you should pick it up, because there's a lot of stuff going on with this hashtag #MeToo, hashtag #ChurchToo, all this stuff in the news. So it's kind of nice to filter that out and just take a step back to think about what we're doing to keep putting ourselves in these positions, how we're raising our guys, and just kind of using some scripture and some really practical methods in here to kind of create a strategy on how to create like a safer space for guys to talk about this stuff, and to just rethink about raising young men, and taking a step back from that locker room talk, that kind of thing that's getting everybody in trouble, and that kind of accidental stuff he really talks about in here, like just in your everyday language, and it's really neat to hear him talk about this. Very interesting read. Dave Willis, he wrote The 7 Laws of Love. He's a life coach, and he actually has 4 sons, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
so
I think this is definitely a very relevant time to be talking about this. I think that's really cool to be able to offer a resource instead of fighting against each other and trying to make this a political thing, to just say, let's go to the source and say, we're going to raise our kids the way so that they'll grow up and be respectful of all kinds of people. And so I think that's a really cool,
especially just
concept.
Like let's talk about it. Like there's all this stuff going on, and it's also negative in the media. Like let's talk about it.
Yep.
And Dave does a great job.
The moment is
Well,
here!
we're all here today.
You guys, we are so pumped for the new Mr. Rogers movie, and we are so excited to share The Simple Faith of Mr. Rogers, which is written by Amy Hollingsworth. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this today. Shall I hold it? We're a little bit matchy-matchy. An attempt was made. So Amy Hollingsworth, the author of this book, was actually a very good longtime friend of Fred Rogers. She met him because she went and interviewed him, and her story is basically she was the first person that he interviewed with on television to talk specifically about his faith.
Okay.
And before that, he wasn't hiding it, but he's
kind of a secular figure,
right?
Though,
just
right?
kind of being in the TV world, like there's just things that you can't talk about, and you can't really put it out there because you'll just get a lot of hate, honestly, towards you. A lot of times if you put your heart out there. And
yeah,
so
and I wonder,
really
he was kind of trying to talk to everybody, right? So he was using his faith to kind of, no matter what faith you are, to talk about.
Right.
Did he go to seminary?
He did. So Amy talks about in here when he was first starting the show, he would actually leave on lunch breaks and go and take his classes. And so he was so committed to this, and it's something that a lot of people don't know. Like, was he a minister? Was he just a kid's television host? Like, who was this man? And that's really what this book captures. And it's really neat to see just how personal it is. And I think a lot of things like the movie is probably going to be showing a lot of that behind the scenes. Like, I think the big conflict is like critics kind of coming after him and how he deals with that.
Well, the movie is also based on an interview, isn't it? Like between him and somebody else. Yeah. So this really pairs with it nicely, because that's probably going to talk about his professional career more than his faith. But his faith was such an integral part. Because him and Amy kind of had like a relationship, didn't they? They
were very good friends. They actually, after her first interview with him, they ended up writing letters to each other for many years, which is really cool because she puts a lot of those excerpts from those letters in here. So you literally get Fred's voice in this book, which is really unique. And it's one of the things that she kind of goes back throughout this book is this quote, which Fred Rogers really loved, from St. Francis of Assisi, where he said, he preached the gospel at all times and when necessary used words. And so it's a really good look at how Mr. Rogers showed his faith through the show without saying anything specific about it.
Truly the king of kindness.
So for November, we're doing a special book of the month, which is going to be The Simple Faith of Mr. Rogers, of course, since the movie's coming out this month. And we are doing our first ever Page Chaser book club with it, which we're really excited about. So we're going to be posting questions for different sections of the book each week throughout November. So you can go on there and just join the conversation, discuss it with us. Let us know your thoughts. We're really eager to discuss this one because there's a lot of really awesome insider information about Mr. Rogers that we're excited to talk about. Eric and I are also going to be posting videos at the end of each week in November, just sharing our thoughts, our impressions of the week's reading. So go on our Facebook page to get involved, figure out how to get involved with that. And then we're also going to help you get started by doing a giveaway this month. Yay, giveaways! If you go on our Instagram page or our Facebook page, you can enter the giveaway there. But we're going to be giving away 5 prizes, and each prize is going to be 2 copies, physical copies of The Simple Faith of Mr. Rogers, one for you and one for a neighbor. And we're going to be giving a digital code for the audiobook version as well. And you will also get a mug, which has Mr. Rogers on the front in his suit, and when you put a hot beverage in it, it changes into his sweater, and it's adorable and you will love it. We're going to post a video of that soon, and you will not be able to stop thinking about it. And you'll also get a Mr. Rogers Funko and a little enamel pin, which basically looks just like this cover. It's the sweater, and it's really cute, really fun collectible. So follow us on our social media channels, Page Chaser, Instagram, and Facebook, to find out how to get entered into the giveaway.
Yeah, so definitely check out our platforms for that, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. And all the books today are available on audio, so check them out, and thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.